The rally here is like Mecca for motorcycles around the world. To try to, portray the Harley-Davidson lifestyle on canvas is something that is pretty amazing for me to be a part of. In July, I'll be 30 years doing this.
Well, hey, welcome back to this series. We're showing you Deadwood and Sturgis pre-rally. Where are we standing right now?
Well, we are standing on Main Street in Deadwood, and this has been so fun and so interesting to learn all this. We're at the Scott Jacobs studio right now with some of the most unbelievable art you'll find.
Yeah, we've got a real treat for you today, and you're going to hear a lot about his history. So let's get in there.
Let's do it.
It's pretty amazing, to be a part of Harley's history. To try to, portray the Harley-Davidson lifestyle on canvas is something that is pretty amazing for me to be a part of. My name is Scott Jacobs. I've been a professional artist for 43 years, and 30 of them have been with Harley-Davidson. 1993 was a great year for me. It was the first year I became licensed by Harley-Davidson. I was the first artist in the world licensed by them, which basically means I get a rubber stamp from Harley-Davidson saying I can use all the different nomenclature that's on the bikes, the names, the different trademark and license things with their permission. Because if I was an artist that was doing a painting of a Harley-Davidson and I wanted to do a limited edition print of it, I wouldn't be allowed to because of the trademark licensing. Originally, when I got my license with Harley-Davidson, my first deal was 2 years. And they're like, well, we'll see what happens in 2 years. We're not sure if people are going to collect artwork, because there was no artwork out there. There was no Harley-Davidson fine art program. So when I started it in '93, nobody knew how long it was going to last. So we thought 2 years, maybe 5 years, pushing it. And it's 30 years this year. In July, it'll be 30 years doing this. I try to do paintings of every aspect, whether the early 1900 bikes, things that are police bikes, every different style bikes, and military bikes, new bikes, old bikes, bikes with women on them, men on them, to try to, portray the Harley-Davidson lifestyle on canvas is something that is pretty amazing for me to be a part of. I started dabbling in art when I was about 15, back in the early 70s. I'm 63 years old now. And I dabbled in it, doing drawings and things like that. And then I got discovered by one of my teachers in 8th grade. They needed an artist for the school newspaper. So they said, you draw a lot, maybe you could draw, some kind of drawing for us for every week for the newspaper. And so I started doing that. And what it did was it made me think about art on a daily basis or a weekly basis, because I had to come up with some new design every single week. And then when I became 15 years old, I got a job in an art gallery, and I actually started bringing in some of my art to the art gallery to see what the reaction would be from people. And I got a great reaction, early on. I was doing mostly celebrities' portraits at the time. And then from doing that, I actually got commissioned by people like Madonna. I did one for the billionaire Malcolm Forbes. He commissioned a painting of him standing next to a helicopter. Did one for Kathy Ireland, Kim Alexis, all these supermodels. And then that just started snowballing. Then I started doing ones of Joan London from Good Morning America, who was a famous person at the time. And the reason I changed from doing that to what I'm doing today is that I needed to touch more people with my artwork. Because if I did a painting of you standing in your backyard next to your car or something, very limited market for that image. But if you painted a classic car with nobody in it, or motorcycles in a scene like that, then all of a sudden you're opening the doors to a lot more people that might want to collect that piece of art. So I started doing cars and motorcycles in the late 80s, early 90s, and then got noticed by Harley-Davidson in 1993. In the mid 80s, I didn't know what direction I was going to go as an artist. So I tried cubism, I tried abstract painting, I tried architectural pieces, I tried photorealism, which is the style that I do. And I painted under another name. I painted under the name Escotite. And Escotite I came up with from my first name, S-C-O-T-T. And so I spelt it E-S-C-O-T-E-T-E with a little hyphen on the end, so it looked like I was a French artist. I was using the public to test market the imagery I was doing. I got their honest opinion. And they came in and say, well, what do you think of this new artist, Escotite, that we're carrying? And most people gave me a nice compliment because the art looked okay, but other people were like brutally honest. They're like, I don't like this, I like this better, whatever. And so all the best comments I ever got were about my photorealism, the style that I do now. And so I went down that avenue. If it was abstract pieces that people loved, I'd be an abstract artist probably today. I think there's two types of artists. If you can really narrow it down to a couple. There's artists that paint for themselves, and they don't really care if they ever, they're just painting because they're passionate about the art. And then there's other artists that you would call commercial, which would be me, because I appeal to a bigger base. I paint what people want to hang on their wall. I paint cars, I paint motorcycles, I paint women in masks, I paint alcohol, I paint wine, paint flowers. And the reason I paint so many different genres is because it opens up your market so much more. Maybe somebody's not into bikes, but they love Corvettes. It's all about everybody's vices. You're talking about cigars and all the great stuff. I'm a very American artist. And what I mean by that is I do paintings of Marilyn Monroe on wine bottles, Elvis Presley. I do American cars, I do American motorcycles, I do famous scotches and famous wines. And it's all the stuff that we all love. And not everybody loves wine or, if they're on the wagon. I have this one gallery here in Deadwood now, but in the past I've had as many as 4 other studios. I rely on all the different galleries around the world to sell my art. I make my home in Spearfish, South Dakota, about 20 minutes here from Deadwood. I get people asking me all the time, why am I living here in the Black Hills? You moved here from San Diego? And what brought me to the Black Hills originally was the rally. So Harley-Davidson would fly me in to make appearances during the rally since I think the first year I came in was '94. And so I would come every year and stay, 2 weeks. And then about 10 years into it, I brought my wife up one time and she loved it. She goes, let's go earlier, let's stay a little later. And then the next year I brought my 2 daughters. They loved it as well. And so we bought a condo down in Spearfish. And so we would come up a couple weeks early, stay maybe a month later and enjoy the Black Hills. We fell out of love with California and we fell in love with the Black Hills. We really feel like we're part of the community up here. People respect us, they know our name. When we walk around the street, it's amazing how many people know who we are. And in San Diego, I never felt that small town mentality up here, and it's so welcoming. It's pretty awesome. The rally here, Sturgis, including Deadwood, is like Mecca for motorcycles around the world. I've met people all over the world. I just got back from Scotland yesterday, and everybody there knows about Sturgis. Who doesn't know about Sturgis? It's our biggest revenue time of the year. I've been the official artist for the rally since 1995. So I do the cover artwork for the magazine every single year. I always have an official Harley-Davidson piece for the rally. I've done some Indians too as well, but I want to keep Harley-Davidson happy. They've been so good to me for so many years, but it's an amazing time for us. I've been very fortunate as an artist that I've been very successful. One of the revenues that is awesome for an artist to have is from licensing. So if Harley-Davidson picks an image of mine and then they use it on puzzles that are sold around the world, I get a little piece of every puzzle sold. So it's afforded me to have, a beautiful motorcycle collection, gorgeous gallery here, building to show my wares. I've set it up in here to be similar to a museum. People can come in, they can see some of my originals, they see some of the bikes. Like this bike here, behind me, this 1936 VLH, is on the cover of the Sturgis magazine this year. And behind me, this 37 Knucklehead, that was last year's cover. So people can come in, they can see the bikes that I use as my models, and they can see the paintings as well. I've been riding motorcycles since I was 15 years old. I actually had the honor of racing dirt track back in the 80s, early 80s with Suzuki in the 125 class. And then I got hurt pretty bad, broke my ankle and wrist and screwed up my hand really bad back in 1982. So I stopped doing that. And then I went to the road on bikes. It's in my blood, it's in my family's blood. Both of my daughters race. My wife, this is my wife's race bike right behind me here from the Cannonball from 2014. She raced that across the country from the shores of Florida all the way to Tacoma, Washington. Normally I keep about 8 to 12 bikes. There's 9 in here right now. One of them's on its way out because it fell from 10 feet on the display onto the floor. I think a ghost pushed it off. It's just crazy. I've got 2 favorite bikes in my collection right now. My 1926J. I raced it across the country in 2012 and 2014. I love that bike. That's the one that fell off the stand, of course. And then I have a 1915 F11 with a sidecar box, which from our research on that 1915 is there's only 2 of those boxes in the world. So that's the rarest bike that I actually have.
So that was great. Let's go for a tour now. Scott, what do you got going here?
We got a lot of goodies in here. You know, I've got currently 9 motorcycles in here. We got this 1937 Knucklehead, which was last year's cover piece. 36 VLH, which is this year's cover piece. This is a piece that I personally love. This is called Gimme Shelter. It's my daughter Olivia. She's modeled for me many times over the years. It's got thousands of water drops on this piece. This is just an insane piece of art.
How long did this take to do?
That took 3 months.
Wow, it's beautiful.
And that's about the most I've ever spent on a painting is about 3 months.
Well, there's your daughter in it. There's a reason to paint it, right? And you want to make every little detail count. You were talking about a 08 brush?
18-0.
18-0.
Yeah, it's the smallest brush I've been able to find over the last 20 years. It's got about 6 hairs on it.
Wow.
So you think of a sharpened pencil point, an 18-0 is way smaller than a sharpened pencil point. It's super
So that
tiny.
allows you to get every...
Yeah, it lets me do all these water drops and all the detail on the water drops. You can see her eye makeup is smeared and everything in there. I studied how water pools up on saddlebags and how it pools up on tops of motorcycles and on top of umbrella and all that. So there's a lot of research that goes into it. I photographed her in my driveway in San Diego and then picked that background up. It was a photo of from Oregon. Of just a forest and rain. Wow. So I use that as the backdrop. So.
Beautiful.
You have a bar in here as well?
We have a bar in here, yeah.
Well, I know where we're coming next rally.
It keeps people walking around the gallery a little bit longer if they can walk around with a beer or wine over here. We even have some of the beers from our own brewery in here too as well.
And that brewery's Jacob's Brewery,
Jacob's Brew House, yeah. It's right here downtown Deadwood as well. Opened that 2 years ago and it's doing great.
Great food. We ate there yesterday.
Excellent.
It was awesome.
Yeah, good. Over here, this is mostly, wine pieces. Some of them Harley-Davidson. If you look up at the top, the one with the Indian, that's the first Indian motorcycle wine piece I ever did, which is really fun to do too. I really enjoy this. It opened up a lot more people to my market by doing those. You can see I did like Harley-Davidson beer. We call those the Harley-Davidson lifestyle pieces. Mm-hmm. Beer, wine, you can see one up here with gambling. I've done a lot. I've done pinball pieces. There's a lot of different things that Harley-Davidson has licensed over the years. They've done, tables to gamble on. They have their names all on it, and they make a backgammon game and so on. So I've done that in a lot of pieces using their licensed products.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, and what's great though is they give me whatever I want, and I can keep it afterwards. So that's my backgammon table. Back here we've got my daughter Olivia, who's a photographer. This is all her art. And then you get into Alexa, my daughter Alexa's work.
How many children do you have?
2 girls.
Nice.
2 girls, 30 and 31. Alexa actually got her first show in Rome. I'm going to Rome with her in a week from tomorrow.
Wow.
So we're real excited. She's done a great job. She's
great stuff.
Totally different style.
Yeah.
Like the one with the bullet, you can see that's it's a piece that she called Bite Me. And if you know my daughter's personality, Bite Me is very appropriate for her. So she's done clothing with that too as well.
Different style, but her detail is amazing. It must be in the family.
Well, she trained under me for 13 years.
Wow.
So I gave her the chops that she's had, and she is taking it beyond that. She's done so much experimenting with her art over the years, and she's done a phenomenal
This
job.
Roman piece as well.
But it's in her soul.
It is.
It's coming out.
It sure is.
Wow.
Then over here we have a lot of photographs that are unique to the Black Hills. These are all local photographs from the Buffalo to the Badlands, all different aspects of the Black Hills. And then down here actually, this is an artist that been working with Harley-Davidson for 30 years, mostly as a t-shirt designer. His name is Daniel James. And so these are some of his. He does a Sturgis piece every year too as well. He's one of my closest friends in the world. He just moved back to Deadwood a week and a half ago. He was living in Colorado, but he decided to move back here to the the area, and this is some of his work. He's designed more motorcycle t-shirts than anybody in history. He's done over 700 of them. So you see those really intricate backs for the different dealers. They were designed by Daniel James.
Well, it's great you're putting other artists up in your gallery.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
share that well.
Well, it's good friend, family members. My nephew Todd's over here. His work is fantastic as well.
To capture realism with paint's amazing.
So in here we've got a lot of handmade hats from California. We've got a lot of shirts. All the clothing designs we've actually designed ourselves. So this 1926J, which is personally my favorite riding bike I've ever ridden, was way up here. So it was at 8-9 feet up.
Yep.
Fell somehow off of there and landed right here on the floor, and there's a dent in the floor right around where you're standing. Yeah, right there.
Yep.
Here's where it hit right here. You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can see the tire mark.
Yep.
So that's where it ended up hitting the floor. The front fender got trashed, and oops, more paint coming off.
Yeah.
Smashing the tank and the seats, so it could have been worse. I talked to Carl Olson, who's an amazing restorer of vintage bikes. He actually is going to take it and fix it for me. He said that thank God it didn't land on its side, because then it probably would have broken all the mounts for the engine and everything, and then it pretty much would have been totaled.
Oh.
So that was nice that that didn't get
Good
released.
thing no one was standing there trying to
Exactly.
close.
This is my wife's 1915 F11. She raced this in 2016, but unfortunately her bike broke down on the second day. And her plan was to just be picked up by what we call the Grim Reaper truck, be brought to the finish line and get fixed and get back on the road. But I crashed about a mile and a half after her bike broke down, and I spent 8 days in the hospital. I lost my humerus. I have a metal rod in my humerus. I've got a big steel ball screwed into my glenoid, and I have a plastic clavicle now.
Wow.
I severed everything through here when I hit the ground. The bone just shattered everything. So.
Well, as an artist, you're lucky you didn't lose.
I'm right-handed too, and
Yeah.
I didn't think I would ever paint again. And that's the reason I opened up the brew house, is because my surgeon said, well, you know, maybe you want to think of other ways for income just in case you can't get back to where you were. So I worked really hard. I just had another surgery just over a year ago, had a different prosthesis put in there, and it's working better. I'm in less pain each day, but I can only paint about 4 hours a day, where I used to do 8 or 10.
Wow.
So it's cutting down my production a lot. So I tend to do pieces that are maybe not as intricate as the old ones, because I can get more out for the year.
So you paint it, but you also live it.
I do, yeah.
Right? I mean, you've been
My whole
on
family.
these cannonball runs. You've been.
I've been on on 2010, I wasn't a racer. I was there in a sidecar documenting it and photographing the bikes for future paintings. But I raced in 12, 14, and 16 unsuccessfully. I had a perfect score in 14 on that 26 over there. I was in third place in 2012 with 2 days left, and our mechanics couldn't figure out why that wouldn't start one morning. And they gave it at 7:30 to get on the road, and 10 minutes after that, they figured out that the little float inside my carburetor had a crack in it. So when I would going up a hill, calling for more gas, the thing was flopping in and flooding me out. And they couldn't figure it out. And
So is that the one that you crashed on and got
I
injured?
crashed on this beauty up here. I crashed on this 1915, which has a sidecar box. And from all the different research we've done, is that this is one of two in the world. From what we understand is that they did these boxes in 1914, and they only did about 8 of them. They didn't sell well, so they turned them into sidecars.
So they took a Servi car and turned it this way,
Yeah, pretty much.
right?
Yeah. So this is the one I crashed on. You can't really see any damage because I had changed the handlebars. I had put new mirrors on it, a different headlight. I had a different seat. I didn't have the sidecar on it. I had taken saddlebags on the side. So when I went down and was sliding down the road, everything that was coming off after the race is what got damaged. So all the original parts went back on it.
I mean, we do a lot of miles on our new road glides, and I could not imagine doing that on this.
So much respect.
This was not comfortable. This is a very skinny bike, and I couldn't, you kick it with these pedals to get it going. Man, I just couldn't get it going half the time. So I would have to run as fast as I could next to it and jump and pop the clutch on it. That's the only way I could get this doing. Actually, Jason Sims, the year I raced this in 2016, He was in, on the first day of the race, he was in the same area I was in the race on his new bike, you know, just riding along with everybody.
Right.
He must have got off his bike and helped me bump start this a dozen times. Wow. I mean, over and over again. So, but I want to show you one of the pieces over here. This is a piece called In Your Dreams, which was done in 2008. This was the Sturgis cover piece. This is my daughter again, that was in the other piece on the other side.
Beautiful.
This took me 712 hours to paint.
Wow.
I turned down a lot of money for it back in 2008. And I just want to keep some of my paintings, you know, because I sell everything I do, but to have the original is awesome. Just to be able to have somebody come up and actually see an original and see the transformation of the original into a print. Because you don't normally get to see that. You don't have the print and the original normally in the same place. This is my other daughter in the middle here. That was the 70th Sturgis cover piece, and that's called My Way or the Highway.
Is that the Conoco down here?
No, that's actually Shamrock,
I was
Texas.
going to say, it looks like Shamrock.
it is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Shamrock,
we've
Texas.
been there.
We've been there, yeah.
But this one's called My Way or the Highway, and I just showed you the other one, Bite Me.
Right.
So that's the daughter with the attitude. She's the one going to Rome
And this
with
one
me.
can't be that old because they're taking a selfie with a phone.
Yeah, this one, that was the 75th anniversary piece, both my daughters.
Nice.
And a lot of people are like, well, why do you use your daughters? Well, a couple reasons. They're my daughters. They're
Right.
both gorgeous. And they're cheap models.
Yeah.
I don't pay them shit. But I remember my wife the other day, she did something and she goes, oh, it took me all day to do this. And I said, honey, you're worth every penny you don't get paid. And she said back, she was cracking up. And I was like, yeah, that's a good saying. And then this piece here, this one's called Finishing Touch. This is the actual original.
Wow.
This has been the #1 selling tin sign for Harley-Davidson for the last 9 years.
Wow.
So it's all over the world. And I'm just not done looking at it.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I could have a print on the wall, my own, but that's the original painting. I just like having the
Love
original. You know, it's really cool. And one other one, going backwards one step. This piece here, this is called Catch the Day. I did this one back in 1995. This particular piece of art has been licensed by Harley-Davidson more than any other image in their history.
Wow.
This has been on collector plates, it's been on pocket watches, it's been on collector coins, it's been on limited edition prints, it's been on open edition prints, it's been on clothing numerous times. So it's one of the most, it's my probably most well-known piece that I've ever painted. The most licensed piece I've ever done.
I really like that, the boat 350 ramp.
Yeah, and then I hit my
Catch of the day. I see this.
SJ and SM, Sharon Mapleback and Scott Jacobs forever up there. So
Nice.
I try to hide little family things
I
into
love
there,
that.
and it's fun. That's one of the Indian pieces I did there. That was a cover piece about 4 years ago. I give them a little love. I don't have any Indians. I wish I had a couple in my collection, but I don't. But I would like to have a couple Indian bikes. I want to get like a 1920-something Scout, maybe an Indian 4.
I mean, that was the history of motorcycles, the
Yeah.
back and forth,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I've painted Flying Merkel. I'm doing a Crocker right now. I've done Excelsiors. I've done a lot of different brands over the years, you know. And you can see some of the old Indians over there too. You know, because it's all part of the history, like you say. It's all part of what we've all gone through, why we love motorcycling.
Right.
And if it was just Harley-Davidson, you know, I probably wouldn't be as fun. You know, it'd be a monopoly.
Right.
You know, so keeps everybody on their toes.
Well, it's interesting. It's lovely. It's awesome to see the passion in your work, because even when we film and we ride around the country, we don't want to just have videos that say, "Hey, look where we are." We want to have this cinematic. We want to have a feel to it.
And why we do it.
Exactly.
Yep. I was going to show you one more thing. If you look at the top, I've been on 520 magazine covers around the world now.
Wow.
And these are just a little taste of them. I haven't put any up here in 6 years. I didn't want to take the whole wall with just covers. You know, so a lot of these you can see, like Sign of the Times. You sign paper?
Oh yeah. I
So
used to
Sign
get
of,
that.
Sign of the Times
Wow.
contacted me and they said they wanted to put me on the cover. I'm like, I'm not a sign painter. They're like, you could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
could
that's
be.
that's one of my paintings on the cover of the Sign of the Times there, which is really fun. The first
That's awesome.
Sturgis cover I ever did is the one 1995 up there, that old Indian with the round piece in the back. That was the first cover I ever did for Sturgis in '95, and I've done every cover since.
Wow.
That was about 40 minutes after the accident. You can already see how blown up my arm is, my shoulder.
Yeah.
You can see that in there. It was pretty crazy, but right in front of you was a pretty cool bike.
Yeah.
This is the only collaboration I ever did with my good friend Arlen Ness, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. I'm sure you guys know who Arlen is. So Arlen wanted one of my paintings, and I told him how much it was. It was a painting I did of one of his bikes, and Arlen he wanted a barter. And I told him what the painting was worth in the market, and this is what I got for the painting. So this was started out as a 1996 Road King, and then he nestified it, if that's a word.
Right.
He turned it into a Nest beautiful bike.
Yeah.
You know, and we designed the color pattern, everything. I signed the neck here. Arlen's signature's on the other side of the neck over there. And this is what I got for that painting. And I used to ride this quite a bit for years, but then I've gotten a lot more new bikes. This has a really hard clutch. You know, the technology in Harley's new bikes has really come a long way. So,
What is your current ride typically?
the one I would ride most of the time, if my 26 wasn't all smashed up, would be a Road Glide.
Okay.
I really love the Road Glide a lot. I love that fixed fairing.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. My wife's got a Sportster 48. My daughter's Fat Boy and Crossbones, you know, so everybody's got new bikes as well.
So everyone's riding.
Everybody's riding. It's in our family's blood. I mean, it's been a huge part of our life since I was little and since they were born.
Well, I know you just got back. I know you're tired. Your wife's been waiting. We just want to thank you for the time.
Oh, totally
you've
my
taken.
pleasure.
I mean,
I'm glad I was in town because I totally forgot you guys were coming. we were heading back down to get the horses back in. And she's like, oh, we're going to turn around right now.
No, this is awesome. It's been a pleasure.
and whether you like it or not, we're your friend.
Yeah, good. I appreciate it. Thank you
you,
so
Scott.
much, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh.
Wow, wasn't that crazy?
Yes.
And as an artist, Lance, what did you think about that?
I was just blown away, as you were. We were both blown away in there. The guy's work is incredible. The detail, I love his detail. And he's a great guy. He took the time to tell us his story.
Yeah, it was great. Even his children are talented. And it's
Amazing.
so interesting. You heard him talk about how he was the first licensed artist by Harley in 1993, and 30 years later, he's still doing it for them.
So if you come to the rally and you're in Sturgis and you got to come through Deadwood, or you're staying in Deadwood, you got to come to the Scott Jacobs Gallery. It's awesome.
Or look it up online, Scott Jacobs Gallery. It's great. So what do they need to do?
Hey, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tell your friends to do it, or I might have to fire you.
And again, I'm going to hire you because I know you're going to give a thumbs up. You're going to do a notification. You're going to mash that bell and give us a comment. Whoa! So we'll see you down the road.